All of these success stories are so opposite of what happens in real life. The most commonly forgotten or maybe undermined component is the USP. One of the biggest flaws that people need to remove, and I promise you because we are victim of the same problem, is you want to change the world.
What key factors should startup founders look for in a potential partner to ensure alignment and the startup vision and grows, and especially within the Web3 space in that context?
Yeah, it's a really good point. One exercise that I think is very, very useful, gentlemen, once you've figured out, the Lego pieces, right? Where, this guy is the right Lego to help us build the pillars to what we think is a company that can scale. I think it's very important for founders to run a principle and values workshop. Just, really understand each's principles and values and really agreeing on the vision, agreeing on the mission statements, and really getting everyone to participate. I think on a C level, because it's very likely, right? It's not guaranteed, I guess, because you still need a meritocratic system. But I think it's very important that most of these early people who will probably end up on a C level or maybe at least MD, right, managing director, that they contribute to the principles and values because that refines the how you approach things rather than who you are and what can you bring to the table. So I think that's a really healthy practice that not many companies do. And when you have new people join the C-suite, I think you can even redo that exercise and activity. And what we would do is we would have different type of categorizations for principles and values, and you can use different post-it colors with different, orange, pink, green, and just write a specific thing that's important to you when it comes to communications or whatever, vertical you're discussing. Put them on a wall and try to group them into sections, and then really try to bring out of that what are the principles and values that can guide us all along, so that if there is conflict. And the reason why I like principles and values, guys, is not just in terms of alignment, but in terms of conflict resolution, because there's going to be conflict. There are going to be arguments. Everyone thinks a company is beautiful and everyone's happy and yay, sales are up, boom,
LinkedIn
champagne
success
bottles.
stories.
Yeah, all of these success stories are so opposite of what happens in real life. It's always a boiler room, right? It's problem after problem after problem, right? And so when you have those problems for conflict resolution, when you have principles and values and clear guidelines, then there's no more issue. You just look at those golden rules based on those principles and values, and you have a clear-cut answer without the friction happening for too long. So I think that I don't know what you guys think, but it's a super simple practice on how to gain alignment and solve problems, like personal or human related problems.
I think it creates a baseline, right? Like it's just like I think what strikes me here is like in conflict, it's easy to go overboard and go crazy. But if you have that baseline of good principles and values, you work from that. So sometimes you go overboard and conflicts become big, but it's like, okay, can we go back to the principles and work from there? If that's possible, great. And I think to your point, doing a workshop in this direction, definitely with a founding team or, when a new C-suite member joins, it allows you to, I think, easier come back to that base layer, right? Like that baseline of like, hey, but this is where we work from. Are we still aligned on that?
100%. 100%. Yeah.
Awesome. So question two, value propositions. This is something I personally studied quite a bit. How can I effectively communicate the unique value potential, the USP of my product in a partnership discussion and maximize engagement and interest?
Oh, that is such an important question, Charles. I would love to hear your thoughts and you, Thomas, as well. Because, before I joined Swissborg, I was helping 500 startups. I was helping Slush. You remember the Silicon Valley days where people were raising a couple $1 million just with a white paper? Everyone thinks that's a ICO phenomenon. Not at all. That kicked off in San Francisco way before ICOs, right? But a lot of those white papers, a lot of the decks, and we also have a ventures arm, and we also have a launch pad right at Swissborg. So we see hundreds of them, and I can tell you the most commonly forgotten or maybe undermined component is the USP, the unique selling point or the core value prop. So I think this is something that many startups still don't know themselves, to be honest. I don't know what you guys have experienced so far.
Always. I mean, we've been building Web3 ventures in the last 6 years, I think, and there's less than a handful that I would say that I within 2 sentences like, oh, your USB. But Spaceport found it. You guys found it. So how do you, when you find it? Well, that's one thing. How do you effectively communicate that?
Can I share something with you guys real quick?
Yes.
Sure.
Have you guys read this book?
Yeah.
I actually haven't. No.
Okay, so the reason why I'm sharing this is because I think for USPs and core value proposition, I don't think there's a better book than Blue Ocean Strategy. Because Blue Ocean Strategy, the whole concept is instead of fighting in a Red Sea with all the sharks trying to rip off the head of a tuna altogether and only catch a fin, only catch an eyeball, why don't you just swim in your own blue waters where you're the only shark or maybe only few sharks and you can have tons of tuna to have a big, juicy, fat belly, right?
Nice.
And the framework is very simple, right? The framework is when you start your own company, one of the biggest flaws that people need to remove, and I promise you because we are victim of the same problem, is you want to change the world, right? You're going for the Silicon Valley concept of if the vision is not too big enough, I won't invest, which is absolute bullshit, American BS, to the max. That's the opposite of what you need to do. Obviously, if you're creating some sort of AI that is, different from the current AIs that is specific to a specific industry vertical, it's much better to start off specific. And the framework, they have a quadrant, right? And the quadrant is very simple. If you want a core value proposition, you have to understand from a general standpoint that it's not about just creating and raising the bar. You also have trade offs. Because if you want to do something better or something new, then you have to compromise on other things because you can't do everything well. You can't be a jack of trades. You need to be an ace in a particular technology, right? That's helping the world of Web3. And so rather than just create and raise the bar, you can compromise by reducing and eliminating some points. And that's the ultimate framework. And usually what happens is, are you guys familiar with Le Cirque du Soleil?
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. Yes.
You've heard of Cirque du Soleil. Now, Cirque du Soleil is the first case study in the book. And I'll give you guys a concrete example of this hypothesis, right? Just for you guys to know, like the circus world was a Las Vegas phenomenon, right? Like Las Vegas was owning, the majority of shares for circus related acts, right? And so the circus industry was a dying industry. Like, the tickets weren't selling, the balance sheets weren't looking good. It was about to die. So why is it that the Cirque du Soleil, who timed their circus in the worst times, has managed to scale and take over all the market share? It's because the Cirque du Soleil, for example, on the eliminate and reduce, on the trade-offs, they eliminated all the animals. So there's no animals involved. And why is that really good? Guys, imagine how much money you're spending to feed your tigers every day with meat. That's crazy overhead, right? That's a lot of money, right? And when they get sick, you have to bring them to the vet. I mean, that's a lot of overhead, right? In terms of costs. So they completely eliminated the animals from the circus model. And then what did they reduce? They reduced the concept of, having to get these trainers as well. Obviously, they're trainers, but they're more for human beings. What did they create? They created a concept where there's live music and live singers, right? So all of a sudden, your blue ocean is not just for circus people. You can attract people who go to the cinema. You can attract people who go watch concerts. So once again, you're creating a blue ocean by bringing other people. What would those people do alternatively to circus? Maybe if you don't like a circus, maybe you're a movie, fan. Maybe you're a sports fan, or maybe you're a concert fan, right? So they brought all those elements together, and it's just really well laid out. I think this concept of, once again, innovating or creating raising the bar, but not forgetting the trade-offs to reduce and eliminate so that your time is really spent efficiently and effectively to help a company succeed, will naturally bring you a unique value proposition, if that makes sense. Sorry for the very long-winded answer.
No, I tend to agree. I'm not sure about you, Charlie, but I think we see this very often in building software, right? People come with a massive value proposition, and then we say, okay, throw out a POC, go to market, like test, see if it's right. And they come with a POC that has 20 happy paths. It's like, okay, give me your best one. And then you get a top 5. Like, no, I need your best one because that's what we're going to build. We're not going to build anything else. We're going to build your best value proposition. And it's super hard to define. We work a lot with technical founders, but also non-technical founders. Like, what do I really bring to this world? What is really valuable? And how do I create my own blue ocean? It's hard. And there's a reason why a lot of people fail because of that, right?
And I think, based on what you said, Thomas, that's a really important example. Because, for instance, if you're saying, "Oh, I'm the new Aave on base," right? I've said that's not a value proposition, bro, because Aave can go on base tomorrow if they've already not decided to do so. So what if Aave goes on base? What are you going to do? Or, if they say something like, "Oh, I'm going to challenge X. I'm going to create a decentralized social fi, and I'll have, let's say, the ability to swap coins." I'm like, bro, like Elon is currently working on that. He actually signed an exchange to offer the ability to buy Bitcoin directly through X. So I think it's very important that people really understand, how to make their own market. And obviously, you can have a value prop that gets killed overnight by a bigger player, but it's very important for you to really refine that, as you said, and go all in on that particular USP. 100% with you.
I think that disruption, like people often say, like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna disrupt the space." I always laugh a little bit. It's like it's often the niche of the niche of the niche that disrupts something a lot bigger, but that they do it because they are so focused on their value proposition that it's like, okay, that small piece that they change can have massive consequences for an entire industry. But if you look like, hey, I am going to change the industry, I always loved it in Web3. It's like, oh, we're the Ethereum killer. Yeah, okay, great. Next, please. Like the amount of times I've heard that's like, hey, you built that for us. Like, I can build you something similar. Yeah, sure. If you want to spend, I don't know how much money with us, I think it's a bad idea. So, yeah, absolutely agree.